One of the easier ways to get started with Azure Virtual Desktop is by using the Getting Started feature in the Azure portal. So if you want to implement that, here we have a tenant where I can use the Getting Started feature. Now, in my tenant here in Azure, there is nothing here yet other than a simple website. If I search for AVD in the Azure portal, we can then open up the Azure Virtual Desktop view. And here we have a button that says Quick Start. From the Quick Start environment, we can deploy a full Azure Virtual Desktop environment in one single step. Once you're finished, you will get one host pool, one application group, and one workspace deployed for you. So if you click the Start button here, we have to go and tell in what situation we are. We are going to select the subscription where we want to create the solution. Next, we want to then set up the identity provider. Do we already have an identity provider? For example, do we have an Active Directory environment, or do we not have this? I'm going to choose for no identity provider, as I do not have any on-premise Active Directory domain services. Then I want to go and set up my Microsoft Entra domain service solution. This is going to be created for me. Then I will have to create a group resource prefix. I'm going to use AVD dash, and all the resource groups created will then start with AVD. I'm going to create my solution in West Europe, which is local to me. And I'm going to use a username for my virtual machines, and I'm going to use a credentials for my machines. Now I need to sign in as a user here in the Active Directory environment. So I'm going to go and sign in as this user here, which is the user I want to be using for my environment. And I want to enter the password that goes with that user. For the domain administrator credentials, I'm going to use the AVD admin account, and then I'm going to choose the exact same domain name. Oh, you know what? I can actually use an actual demo domain name here. And I'm going to also add a password for that user. And I have to enter, of course, the right credentials. Here we go. So then in the next step, I have to select the virtual machines that I want to be allowed into my host pools. Now here I'm going to choose multiple users per virtual machine. So this is going to create a pooled environment, a pooled host pool. If I would have chosen dedicated to one user, it would create personal ones. Then I'm going to choose the Windows 10 multi-session. I'm going to choose this one here that contains the latest updates for Windows 10, and it contains the Microsoft 365 applications, the virtual machine image size, and the virtual machine name prefix. So I can go and, for example, go and say, hey, I'm going to do my AVD dash or my AVD host pool. I want to create two virtual machines here. I may want to link an extra script if I want to, but for now I'm going to leave the defaults. And when it comes to the assignments, I'm going to create a user account for testing. I'm going to say I'm going to name the user test at, and then, oh, maybe I want to name it AVD test for Azure Virtual Desktop test, and then use my demo environment here. The password I want to be using for that test account, and I want to make sure that I have entered the password correctly, like this. Then let's just check out what we have configured so far. And if everything is all right, we can then start the initiation of the deployment. Now, obviously, The deployment is going to take quite a bit of time because it's going to create a Microsoft Entra domain service environment. It's going to create a network. It's going to create virtual machines. It's going to set up all these different things. So for now, I just want to just go and click that create button. And we'll have to wait and see at a later stage whether or not this has successfully been deployed. So let's just wait for my deployment to start. And once the deployment is started like this, we now will get the entire environment created for us. So this is how we can deploy an entire Azure Virtual Desktop environment using the Getting Started feature.